You have been campaigning in Italy for, well, against the Libya war, and you will tell us what you've been doing. But I just bring to your attention some news tonight. I don't know if you've heard that NATO is telling all the journalists to leave Libya. There are some reports of mustard gas being used in Beni Walid, but this is perhaps in the category of unconfirmed at this point. But
I did not hear about that because I was busy with some work in agriculture. I did not hear about that. Yeah. Today I sent some questions to NATO in Naples as a freelance independent journalist, and they answered, but it was not about that. It was, I mean, they gave very funny answers. Not funny, I mean, they don't answer really. I asked a lot of things. If you want, I can tell you. But until no, up to 5 or 6, I was in touch with them. They said nothing about this kind of things, maybe because I didn't ask. So
well, no, it's actually within the last hour, because I've been following the Twitter. You know, the tweets on Twitter are very current.
Yes. Yeah.
So just, but people use the RAI television in Syria now. They phone in, somebody phoned from Beni Walid and said NATO's using mustard gas. But as I say, we'll wait and see if it's valid and true.
You see, I made, I compared a few days ago, also in an article, these Libyan cities under siege with Fallujah. You know what happened in Fallujah in 2004?
Exactly.
They didn't use mustard gas, but they used white phosphorus, and a lot of people were burned there. These were the Americans with, along with some local allies, like this time. And so, I mean, it's really sad. It is something unbelievable, but it could be. It could be.
There was also, it's good to compare this to Iraq. I believe it's the same war fought by the same people for the same reasons. The airport in Baghdad, there were reports of like a neutron-type bomb being used and evidence of it. This was reported by Al Jazeera at the time.
There are so many similarities in in what they do, and also in the lies in the propaganda. But this is not only with the Iraq war; it is with the Kosovo war and Afghanistan war. The propaganda, you imagine the mass graves, in fact, in the case of Iraq, and in the case of every war, there are mass graves. You know which are the mass graves? For instance, the buildings which fall down because of the bombings, and of course people are mass graved there. So it's not exactly the mass graves they say, it's the opposite. I mean, they make the mass graves. And you must remember in the first Gulf War, when I started being active against the war in 1991, 20 years, 5 Italian wars in 20 years. At that time, the mass graves was also, you remember the Iraqi soldiers who were withdrawing from Kuwait. They were withdrawing, and they were buried in the sand by the Americans, and the Americans admitted that. They admitted.
Yeah, they were retreating. So, the Iraqi troops
were retreating. Yeah,
they
definitely.
were retreating, and they were killed en masse. I saw all the pictures.
Yeah. Yes, like when the NATO attack started, the Libyan army was retreating from Benghazi, but it was bombed anyway.
Really?
So
no, they are just killers of the worst kind. We've been fed propaganda how bad the Germans were and everything, and you begin to question that, but I digress. May I ask you, because you're Italian, I saw a report that Berlusconi on Friday said most of the people in Libya support Gaddafi. Is this true?
Mm. Berlusconi said many times that he didn't want to make this war, and he was compelled to do this because of the parliament, because of Napolitano, which is our very warmongering president. Uh, and because of the Americans, you know, Italy is really tied with America. I think there were agreements, secret agreements after the Second World War, secret, still secret, but we do what they really want, we do. And but it is ridiculous. I mean, another a proud person, if he has this idea, he would have resigned. I always remember in '91 there was one politician who resigned because he was against the war. He was the French Chevènement, Jean-Pierre Chevènement, Minister of Defense. He was against the war on Iraq and he resigned. So if you are a dignified person, there is a solution, you don't have to obey. But Berlusconi is irrelevant, and also Italy is irrelevant, really. This is unfortunate.
Each person is irrelevant. I want to add to something you said. We had Robin Cook. He was the foreign minister and he resigned. And he made a big speech in Parliament how the Iraq war was wrong. 1 week later, he died.
Mm-hmm.
7 days later.
Yeah, yeah. It's part of the game. It's part of the game, yeah. But yeah, the NATO today. I don't know if you are interested in knowing what NATO answered me.
Yes, please.
because I asked them so many questions. For instance. As they always claim that they are there to protect the civilians, we know very well. I asked them what they are doing to protect the civilians who are actually victims of the CNT, like the black migrants and the black Libyans, and I think also the so-called loyalists, or those who are believed to be with another political idea. And they answered first, this man, very, very kind, but really he was jumping in the mirrors. He said, you know, until now, those who are threatening civilians were the Gaddafi army. We have no news of civilians threatened by the CNT. So I repeated with another email. I said, listen, it is in every news that black migrants and black Libyans and other people are not only threatened, they are killed actually by CNT armed people. And so he answered, he said, we are not on the ground and we cannot be sure about violence from CNT. So at that time I wrote to him, but so how you can